It is good to be back, which means you will be seeing a lot more of me and UATV from now on. And here we go. This is me and this is UATV. Now going directly to the things. The Russian so-called special military operation that's supposed to be a 3-day blitzkrieg. It's now on day 1,641. So 7 out of 10 gas stations in Russia have no gas. And meanwhile, Washington is reviewing how many American troops to keep in Europe, and Europeans are still arguing or bargaining about who pays for what. We will be discussing this mayhem, literally, and a lot more things with our guest today, Christoph Müller, the man behind Talk for Ukraine YouTube channel, where he in turn talks about this war with the people who make the decisions and analyze global security for a living, ranging from American diplomats to European security experts. And now, on top of all that, Christoph is cartoonist and a musician. Hello, Christoph.
Hello, Henry.
Did I miss anything? Did I leave anything behind? Can you tell us more about who you are and why you're here?
When you say you missed something, the only thing you missed maybe is that I'm also doing caricatures. I'm a caricature artist, but not so much published because the things are sometimes too cruel what I draw.
Right.
For the German tiny souls. You know, I'm German, yeah.
You're German?
Yes.
I can tell that, and I knew that, and I said that you're a cartoonist. But we'll get back to this. This is very important that you're here. This is the fact. But the first thing first, we've been hearing voices that, very optimistic voices. If you ask me, super optimistic voices like Russia is falling apart, fuel, there's no petrol. As I said, 7 out of 10 gas stations are out of petrol, dry. Immense pressure from Ukraine on Russia, and still no end to this war is anywhere in sight. Why?
I mean, the problem is, I guess, that the European countries and the Western countries don't support Ukraine enough. They could have supported Ukraine way more, and then the war would already be over. I'm sure for that. When you see how Ukraine is fighting, and nobody would have thought in the beginning of the so-called 3 days military special operation that it would last that long. But the Ukrainians, they have a resistance and the resilience which is incredible for the rest of the world. But the support of the Western countries, which I said, is not enough. And I think this is a very important topic because the minds are so divided inside our countries, and I can tell you, especially being a German.
Germany. How is that?
In Germany, it is the situation even special because we have been a divided country. We have been East and West Germany, right. And the East German part, that was a colony just of the Russians. Like the other, Russia is, as all your viewers
right.
know, it's an empire. So the rest, they are colonies, and also the East Germans are, and they have this thought in their mind, but they are not all. It's more complicated.
It is complicated, but what you are really saying that mentally a part of Germany is still Russian.
And I can tell you that because I have relatives in East Germany. When I tell you about my personal story. The family of my father grew up in East Germany in a town called Bautzen, which was famous for their prison. My father, in the year 1956, he fled from East Germany to West Germany because he was too critical towards the East German GDR government.
Right.
And so he left this part. It was still easily possible by plane. And I was born in West Germany. And my father was extremely critical towards the Russians, the Soviets. And being a boy, I didn't understand why he was so critical. But he was reading books from Alexander Solzhenitsyn, Archipel Gulag, for example. And later on I read that too, and I know what my father meant. What do I want to say? In East Germany, there are left the other siblings of my father, and I have still a lot of contact with my cousins and uncles, and they have absolutely a different attitude towards the Russians than we have. They sugarcoat the past, and they say the Americans, they are guilty, and they don't care about the events going on here in Ukraine, and they have all those propagandist lies in their head. Absolutely, and this is what I'm struggling against that, but I don't know how to convince people.
It is very hard. Maybe at times it is just impossible for the people. They want to believe that thing. This is their past, and they will be believing no matter what, because this is the religious attitude to fact. This is not a matter of fact; it's a matter of opinion. So maybe we would have to fight it with a better propaganda. But we can talk about it later. Let's talk about money. Let's talk about 200 billion euros or more that is a frozen asset. Or better thing, let's talk about Armin Papperger.
About what? Papperger, okay.
Yeah, genau. Rheinmetall.
Yeah, sure.
Right. So he says that there is enough factories and there's enough of weapons that can be produced, but there's not enough money there. Yeah. And Europe is ready to pay, but it's not paying enough. Everything is done, but everything is not done enough.
Not enough, and not fast enough.
Why? Have you ever captured the essence of things? Why?
From my point, I'm sure it's just this question of will, the political will. General Ben Hodges I had the chance to interview him already 6 times in my channel, right. And he said, military victory is a question of logistics, of equipment, and of political will. And I asked him which one is the strongest. And then he quoted Napoleon. And of course, political will is the most strong of all those things, which if you have weapons, but you don't you don't know how to use it, or against whom, or who is the enemy. If that's the problem, we don't know who is the enemy. We in the West. If you have, that's crazy. When you are stunned when I say we don't know who is the enemy. We know who it is. But if you ask my siblings, not siblings, but my cousins in East Germany, for them the enemy is USA. The CIA, right. And then they make this whataboutism all the time. And when I say Ukrainians are killed, they say, people are killed everywhere. We cannot take.
Well, this is a brilliant logic, isn't it? What do you think needs to be done that we can break this attitude? When Russia starts killing them, would that change the attitude?
Absolutely, but then they would be dead. Without life, you cannot have any attitude. So we try to change the attitude before. And there comes into play that we have to find a way of communication with those people. And me being a musician, that I experienced an interesting thing. The music is a language which everybody can understand. Even the worst, horrible person can understand all of a sudden the beauty of a piece of Bach or of what other great composers are there. And let me just tell you a little anecdote. When the full-scale invasion started in 2022, everybody was shocked in Germany, or elsewhere in the world too. So there was a lot of initiative what to do. And I come from Bonn, from the former capital of West Germany.
Right.
Yeah. And in Bonn, there is also some how you call it, Sowjetisches Ehrenmal. It's like a monument of honor for the Soviet Union. And they had also in Bonn a thing like that, a smaller one, honor cemetery. And we decided, the pro-Ukrainian fraction in Bonn, we decided on 8th May 2022 to go there. Not 9th May, the day of victory for the Russians, but 8th May. So we decided to go there and put flowers there and stuff. And I took my saxophone and I was playing. I decided to play a very, very beautiful melody, the melody of Miroslav Skorik. And there were some Russian guys there disturbing our ceremony. Because we wanted to conquer that Ehrenmal and say Soviet Union, that was not only Russian, that was also Ukrainians, that was all the other countries.
Large part.
In a large part, people died, not only Russians, and that's what the Russians do. They occupy also the memory. And so we took this occasion to go to this monument and had a demonstration. There were pro-Russian people or Russians, and they tried to disturb our ceremony. And then I took the saxophone and I played the melody. I played this, and everybody became quiet. And then even the worst pro-Russian guys, they started, somehow they were touched. They didn't know this melody, of course. But then they applauded. And I thought, wow, that's interesting.
I mean, I love the story that you just produced, that you just gave it to us. And this is a beautiful story. If I can put you on a big airplane going around Russia and playing saxophone, so they can finally understand that there is thing that like international law, and we can argue about history, but you cannot break rules, you cannot invade other country, you cannot burn houses, and no music or no beautiful piece of Bach or anywhere even close would ever stop them, because they like to kill. They just like to feel their greatness. While you feel the greatness of music, they like the oppression.
Yeah.
There is some dark greatness in that I can kill somebody and say, I am greater than you. It is not true, but still I feel that way. And we need to fight that history, that memory also. And
that's true what you say.
What I'm trying to understand right now, you as a feeling soul, as an artist, you put yourself in danger by being here, even here in Kyiv these days. I know, because I've been here for 5 years all around Ukraine, and I'm now. So you doing that for a reason. You're not only playing music, you played your saxophone today on Maidan.
It was flute, but anyway.
Flute, oh yes, sorry, for the fallen heroes. So you do things, and some people don't do things. They sit on their sofas and just talk. And high politicians in Europe are also quite comfortable about being pro-Ukrainian on screen. Like, we are so super pro-Ukrainian, but still we don't do enough to shield. Ukraine says, okay, we are shielding Europe from the danger. Please give us weapons. And weapons, they are there. And maybe Papinger is right. There is enough weapons, but there is not enough money. Do you believe that Europe will step up and finally do its job, or it will take more blood and more effort from Ukraine to do it on its own?
Henry, I'm not a prophet. I have not this famous crystal ball, of course. But
no, you don't bring it.
Nobody has it.
All right.
I am kind of disillusioned also. But this is pessimist and Ukrainians, and I feel also like a Ukrainian. I have this Ukrainian soul somehow, and I am. But I'm also a German, and I am amazed how the Ukrainians always stay gentle and polite despite this incredible injustice. And what you just said was so true. I can play nice music, but the Russians, they could just kill these musicians still and feel very powerful and mighty.
And they will.
It's because they have their complete system of values is turned around. For them, it's George Orwell is coming true here. Good is bad, freedom, slavery, and that happens to the Russians also because their system of values is completely turned around. And that is due to this year-long propaganda and misinformation and lies, which is coming from state TV. And that's why I think that the key to this problem must be first to mute them, to make them shut up their lies. I hate it when people all the time start discussing and arguing about all those lies. No, that is not true because of, and that is not true. And
that's already a discussion, right?
President Putin has said that, and Foreign Minister Lavrov has said that. No, they should say the Russian dictator Putin has said something, but I don't care what he said because he always lies. When he opens his mouth, he lies, and that's why for the Russian propaganda, you should not call them journalists. What our people do nowadays, they start to understand that this Russian state TV is maybe.
Do you think they start to understand?
Sort of, yes. They call it propaganda, but
that's already something.
But they quote it all the time, and that's Henry. That's what I am getting mad about all the time. I compare it with a nice. Let's take a nice well full with good drinking water, and if somebody puts bad stuff in, junk or even poison, the water is not drinkable anymore. So we should just prevent him from doing that. And what
And
we
not
do with
trying
our,
to separate the water from poison and
absolutely
drinking, right?
And our drinking and our information space is something like drinking water, and we allow all the times the Russians to spoil our information space with their propaganda, and that's why our heads and minds are twisted, and that's why our decisions are not wise, and that's why our politicians are not able to know what is good and bad, because the election people don't know what is good and bad. And
That's the biggest question of education. But let me ask our people on camera if just one short question. And now a question for you, our dear viewers, maybe talking about Europe and Ukraine relationship. Maybe you have ideas for joint Europe-Ukraine projects designed to hit the Kremlin right where it hurts. If you have these ideas, please share it with us. Write the comments in the comment section below. But the best ones we'll put to the guests or next interviews. And we're moving to another topic. And this is, will Europe really start playing its own way? We just discussed it with Christoph. Or is America right to leave? Is America good to live? Is America free to live? Even our viewers questions us. Even the question was quite a good one. Why should the United States keep paying for Europe's defense? Quite a good question, right?
Very good question.
Let's try and find out. Over the past year, Europe and Canada added $139 billion in core defense spending, a 20% jump in a single year. At the summit in The Hague, allies committed to 5% of GDP by 2035. And at the same time, the Pentagon is reviewing the American presence here in Europe. Right now, that's around 80,000 troops in Europe. So, my question is, do you think that Europe will be able to keep up on its own without America?
Absolutely, they will be able to keep up on its own without America, and that's why. That's also interesting, because Donald Trump is, for me, also one of the worst nightmares which could ever happen. But on the other hand, it is also a good thing that Europe will all of a sudden understand, oh, we are alone, we have to fight on our own.
Grow up.
Grow up. It's a good point, because I use sometimes also this image of Hotel Mama.
Right.
Hotel Mama. A guy is... Mama makes his bed, cooks for him, washes his clothes, and the guy is already 40 years old, still living at home.
Quite comfortable.
Very comfortable, very fat, not polite towards Mama. But all of a sudden, Mama is dead, or Daddy is gone, whatever, and this guy has to be all alone. And I compare this fat Hotel Mama guy with our Europe, because we had been under the umbrella of the United States, of NATO, and now the United States and NATO is kind of gone. And that's also a big opportunity for Putin to attack what you say as a man from the Baltics. If I could ask this question to you.
Yes, please, go ahead.
Would you think that the Russians soon will start some attack on some Baltic country to provoke NATO or on some other? Do you think this will happen very soon?
I think this already happened, first of all.
Oh, okay.
It happened definitely many times. We're just in Baltic states are maybe quite comfortable with that. Couple of drones entered Latvian airspace and we're already shocked. And this is happening every time, all of the time. And the only way to keep Russia at bay is to be ready for the war with Russia. Then you get a good relationship with them. To be ready with war, like to go to war. Nobody wants war, but the war. This is the main idea of anti-European Russia propaganda, that we want war. Nobody wants war. No idiot wants war. Now, Putin doesn't want war. He wants a justification for the war. He says, I am going to free you. I just have to kill you. I'm so sorry. I don't want a war. I want to, my soldiers are raping children and women. We are shooting missiles and rockets and bombs and Shahid drones, Iranian Shahid drones, by the way, at Kyiv every night at civilians. No, it is just not happening. And people believe it because they want to believe it. That's how propaganda works. But let's slide away towards our initial plan. A very interesting conversation about propaganda and how to fight it. But in June, Secretary of War not defense, but the war. Pete Hegseth, another topic of discussion anyway, but said that some of the largest and richest economies in Europe, I'm reading for you, still seem to think the era of free riding is here, whatever that means, and they announced a 6-month review of troops and everything of the American presence worldwide, right? A review, in his words, that some countries will fail and others will pass with flying colors. Again, so if you think that Europe is going up, it can keep up, can go out of this hotel mama, do you think that America will ever come back at this position after Trump is gone?
That's a very good question, and I think yes. When somehow it happens that the Americans also get back on track again, being sane in their minds and understand what is good and what is bad, then they could get back on a good relationship together with Europe, and because we had a success story of 80 years NATO success, and that's why I read the memoirs of the American diplomat George F. Kennan. And this is really a worth reading book. It's very interesting, and there you can see that the history doesn't repeat, but it rhymes and totally. And we had, after the Second World War, we had also this American President Roosevelt, who was an appeaser. He also wanted to negotiate and to have dialogue all the time. And while this diplomat George F. Kennan was in Moscow, sitting there and seeing what kind of people the Russians were, and then the new administration came after the World War. It was I think 49 or so. Harry S. Truman came.
Right,
and then the administration of Truman, they asked their embassy in Moscow, what kind of people are the Russians? And then George F. Kennan answered, they wanted to know who is this, who the Russians are. By God, they should know it. And then he sat down and wrote a long telegram, which is in the history of the long telegram. And this telegram, on 28 pages, he wrote what the people of Russia, what they are, what kind of thinking they have. And that changed the attitude of the Americans towards Russia. And then Kennan was also the guy who inspired the Marshall Plan, and he inspired also NATO. That came out of this mind, George F. Kennan. And that's why it is so interesting. And NATO was a success story of 80 years. And we, in Europe, we were not free riding. We just got a good credit and we got protection. And so we should avoid protection. It's hotel mama. Everybody must be responsible on its own. So that's a story about will.
This is why he's calling free riding, because it is not a success story for Pete Hegseth.
This guy has no idea of the history.
So what? He's the Ministry of the Secretary of War, and he has the right to say that. It might be not a good thing to sit here, but this is maybe the way out of that dominance of American era. And if you want to like flying colors, whatever he means, but anyway, let's be pragmatic about it. We're discussing things up in the clouds. If this happens, if Pete Hegseth says we're cutting American presence in Europe tomorrow, like twice-fold, so it was 80,000, now it's going to be 40,000. Do you think the world will feel the difference?
I think it's, I said it's a good thing. Because the Europeans, they are absolutely more powerful than they believe. They have money, they have technology, they have people, they have what they don't have is will. What they don't have is right. what they don't have is consciousness and historical education. There is a big lack, and the problem is in Europe, and that's why I cannot answer your question precisely. When parties like the AfD in Germany, the Alternative für Deutschland, or when the Marine Le Pen party next year, the Front National, the Rassemblement National, will win elections in France, or the Reform UK from Nigel Farage, when those pro-Russian parties will get over in Western Europe, then Ukraine will have a hard time.
Ukraine is already having quite a hard time because these people in Europe, they don't see the Trojan horse of Russian propaganda there. And Alternative für Deutschland is just a populism. Populism is popular, everywhere. Like, for example, August Leipzig airport, a member of staff found a drone carrying explosive. Then A flying object on the air and landed in Hanover. All right, flying object. Okay, nobody knows what it is.
And even they don't know where it comes from.
Exactly.
They never know that.
Mars,
You
maybe.
will never hear anybody saying it comes from Russia. They say, we don't exclude that it might be from Russia. That's the worst they can say.
What a perfect, I mean, this is a lubricant. I mean, okay. German's Interior Minister Alexander Dobrindt called it a hybrid attack scenario. So there is an attack, but no attacker, just as you say. What keeps Europe from growing up completely and call names names, call spade a spade, call Russia an aggressor? Not just money, because Russia can't buy Europe, or is it?
It is also. It's strategic corruption. There are nice authors who have written books about Nord Stream pipeline or about the Schröder connection. That is another tool of Putin, of Russia. They called it the strategic corruption. It's easy. You bribe somebody, you pay a lot of money. The people don't have any other values than money. They don't care where it comes from. If it's blood money, no. The most important thing is I have my money. Many people
I agree. I agree, but maybe I am even not that strong, even I haven't bribed properly. If I'm offered enough, are you sure that you are strong enough? If you're bribed, like, say, Christoph, I'll give you, what is the amount? Because this is Russia, you know? And I put in my documents, like, you're the owner of a cargo, of a fleet, of a cargo fleet, like 2, 3, 5 vessels. And I offer you twice as much you earn. 3 times as much you earn every annually. And I write in my documents that this is not Russian oil, this is, I don't know, it doesn't matter, English oil, Indian oil. And I pay you, and you know that this document is fake, definitely. But would you agree to that amount of money, and you still can, find a justification? Oh, they will do it anyway. They will do it not through me, then somebody else would take this money. We are all people, just people. So how to fight it? Why we're not, and this is all euros and dollars. Russia is not bribing people in their own currency, whatever it is, ruble, I think. So how to fight it? What do we do with it? Like intellectuals, actors, because fighting a war is getting increasingly hard also in the media space. They are like pushing and pushing because Europe is letting them to push. So how to find proper people? Okay, maybe this is the way. How to find proper personalities for fighting for pro-Ukrainian stance in the media. Who would you name? Who would you say in Germany as a proper person to fight Russian propaganda? Name me a name.
I should name you a name of somebody who is able in Germany to fight Russian propaganda.
Yes.
I would say, for example, Roderich Kiesewetter from the CDU. I would say Marie-Agnes Strack-Zimmermann from the FDP. I would say Robin Wagner from the Greens, a very good guy. There are people like that in Germany. But the crazy thing is that exactly those people, they get the most pressure of somewhere. Nobody knows where it comes from. They get the most pressure in the social media, and that's why they are kind of isolated. But those are the guys and the people I would absolutely name, because they are integer, they are honest, they are perhaps not to
integrity. Yes.
How do you say?
Integrity.
What's the verb?
It is
the adjective. I mean the adjective.
The adjective.
Integer.
Integrated. Integer. Das ist auf Deutsch. We lost in translation now, but the integrity of these people is the fact.
That is fantastic. But before you were asking something, because I heard Putin or the Russians, they say everybody has his price. It's just a matter of the price. Okay. So this is a crazy question. You
just got me. You just pushed me to an interesting thought that maybe the people the Russian propaganda is trying to push the most, the proper people to vote for, to fight this propaganda, because Russian propaganda is afraid by sending a lot of money and trying to push these people, I think, in Germany. Maybe we should think about that. But what about Europe? Europe is not just Germany. What about Europe? I mean, Rheinmetall, they have 2 factories here. Everyone knows they have 2 factories, big factories producing enough weapons. Why? They are not investing they're investing a lot of money in that. So they see future of Ukraine. And that must be Ukrainian Ukraine, because if this is Russian Ukraine, so
That's a good point.
it is a good point, because money sees freedom in the end. Money doesn't see the Russian propaganda ruling them. And Ukraine is slowly and painfully moving towards victory. And Europe sees that, and I think is not doing, again, enough to help. What do we do, you and me, Christoph, to make it happen? Even a small part. Continue what we do, or we have to jump to some other level?
What other level you can take? We are information. We are in the information space. We are not the soldiers on the front who do the heavy job, and they are dying. But we are the information people, and I think also the information is one of the most important things in this game. That's why, and that's the information has to be shaped also by culture, and that's why the culture is such an important thing. And that's why the Russians are trying also all the time also to eliminate the culture of their victims. They try to kill the Ukrainian culture, and sometimes successfully. And that's what I am trying to fight against, to bring the Ukrainian culture out to the world with my YouTube channel, and tell the people about the beauty of Ukrainian people. And I was so amazed yesterday. I have had the chance to be in the Philharmonic Orchestra, to see the symphony orchestra in the Philharmonie, and they have played a piece by a Ukrainian composer, just forgot his name to pronounce well. Please forgive me now. And but this music was incredible. I didn't know this music, and so it is important to tell the world that Ukraine is a rich country. It's a good country. It's not just a corrupt country. All those bad adjectives of Ukraine find their way out through Russian propaganda. So it's our task to bring the good parts of Ukraine out to the world. We have so good people. I'm married to a Ukrainian woman, since I told you in the pre-talk, since 23 years. And when I came first here, to Ukraine, to Kyiv in the year 2002, I had an interesting moment also, which I never forget. I went I wanted to bring flowers to my fiancée. You have always in the metro those flower shops where the people sell flowers. And I had bought some nice flowers for her, and then I wanted to take the marshrutka back to her street where she lived. Marshrutka. And the marshrutka is fantastic. 1 hryvnia, you can go wherever. In Germany, you pay for this region, that, and that. It's very complicated. Here, 1 hryvnia, nowhere. So that's plenty of good things. So my flowers. And I saw the marshrutka. It was completely full, this little minibus. It was full, and I thought, wow, when I get in there, they will break my flowers. And there was the guy sitting on the first seat, and he was seeing me coming with the flowers, and he stood up and offered me his place once right away. I thought, in Germany, I cannot believe that the Germans would do things like that. Yeah. But I don't want to speak bad about my people. They are also great Germans.
Come on, people are people. Everything is there. Let me ask you a question, not about Ukraine, not about Germany. Let me ask you the final question of this interview about Russia. This is quite a targeted question, so get ready. Do you personally believe, Christoph Müller, that Russia will ever change to the better?
Give it a try. We Germans also had a chance to change for the better for a while. We have been the worst Nazis. We had a guy called Adolf Hitler. From Putin, learned a lot from Hitler. And then after the defeat was there, which is important to get a bad nation down, it has to be militarily defeated, number one. And then And Germany experienced that twice, was the bad guys in the First World War also. There they did the one measure, and they defeated Germany, and then they punished it with Versailles treaties.
Treaty of Versailles.
That was bad for the Germans because they suffered a lot then. They had to pay a lot of money and didn't get back any. They had to pay reparations and so. So Adolf Hitler came out of this. So this was not. That's why I was mentioning George F. Kennan. Kennan was that wise. He said, no, if we punish the Germans once again like that, and the next dictator comes up easily, now we have to change this. And so when it took a lot of years, and the West German part where I grew up was a very democratic country and a peaceful country. And so I think if Russia would have a great military defeat, and then it would become clear that they have been the bad guys, then give it 100 years, then perhaps 3 generations. But the chance is tiny. How
All right, Christoph, let's start with military defeat and see what happens next.
But the military defeat is what the Ukrainians are doing is fantastic, because we have been talking about money also. Just cut off the Russians from the money. When they have no money, they cannot bribe people, they cannot buy weapons. Then it's over for them.
Let's be honest. Europe could cut off Russians from their money 5 years ago, and together with America, just cut off all the banking completely.
But they haven't done it.
They haven't done it for 5 years. So the military defeat maybe is standing and waiting.
But the Ukrainians call it the long-range sanctions.
The long range, there's good things and bad things, and Ukraine is the only army in the world at the moment with that thick and dense and tragically earned military experience that is also a commodity. And it is sold to Europe, and Europe is ready to buy it. But again, not enough. We in Europe, Ukraine, Europe, and America are natural-born allies against the dictatorship.
Yeah.
And this will happen at some moment. And I also very much hope that it will happen until we're still here, present and alive. And Mr. Müller, thank you so very much for your music, for your art, and for what you do with passion and compassion for Ukraine.
Oh, yeah, mate. Thank you so much. May I just tell the audience about the musical project still? Is there any time left now?
Please, the camera is yours. На яку камеру ви можете сказати це? Звернутися. Camera number 5.
Yeah.
You can also speak in German if you want to.
Oh, fine. No, it's just I wanted to.
Okay. Camera number 5.
Why am I here in
camera number 5?
Okay. Why am I here in Ukraine? I had the chance to initiate a musical project which is called We Play for Ukraine. And this was started in 2022. It was finished in the early spring 2023. And that means 300 musicians and opera singers from the Opera Odessa, Opera Bonn, WDR Symphony Orchestra, Kyiv Symphony, many famous orchestras play together the Ukrainian anthem and the European anthem, the Ode to Joy from Beethoven. And it has an ABA form, means means Europe, Ukraine, Europe. So this is kind of musically Europe embraces Ukraine, or Ukraine is in the middle of Europe, and we showed this with music, with the best musicians. And I thought this video would go viral, but it didn't, because it took me 9 months to make it. With many people, they helped also, and. So it's still there, this video, and it's still fantastic. Please watch it. It's called We Play for Ukraine. And then you can just see it on the website forukraine.info. And there you can also... okay, I have to carry on. My friends of the music scene are still happy and there, and they play fantastic music, but... I thought the information, what we are doing now, is also very important. And so I saw great YouTubers like Jonathan Fink or Jake Bro or Jason Smart, a lot of fantastic people, also Ukrainians, Georgie and Anna from Ukraine, the brilliant people, or you, Henry. And so I thought talking is important also, and so I started and made Talk for Ukraine out of it, and that's why this is a German and an English channel, Talk for Ukraine. So that's why we are here. Did I talk too much?
Yeah, a little bit, but that's all right.
Sorry about
That's okay. Thank you so very much, Christoph, again, and let me address my viewers. We've been trying to explain complicated things with simple words, but now I would like to address you and would love to hear from you, dear viewers. What convinced you that the war that Russia is waging against Ukraine and international law, by the way, isn't something far, far away, in the galaxy far, far away, but something that affects you directly? And if you're not convinced yet, what would have to happen to you personally and your country for you to grasp it and to believe in it?